Role-playing games take up a big portion of the gaming market. In fact, they are so popular that they often lend their characteristics to many other genres, and in doing so, they greatly contribute to the fluidity of the storyline. Because they are such a big player when it comes to genres, and because they encompass so many gaming titles, we put together a list with 25 of the best role-playing games from the recent generation. The Witcher 3 is one of the most talked about and appreciated games in the last few years, the complex storyline and intriguing gameplay transforming this role-playing title into one of the best sold products of the gaming market. Millions of players worldwide have been enjoying stepping into the shoes of Geralt of Rivia and completing the most amazing of storylines. Ni no Kuni 2 is a charming action role-playing game that tells the story of a young king who was usurped and now must set out to build a new kingdom for himself. Revenant Kingdom is in fact a sequel to the first title of the series called Wrath of the White Witch, and it is equally challenging and full of vibrantly colored sceneries and heart-melting characters. Notorious for its insanely difficult gameplay, Dark Souls 3 has been proudly creating massive rage quits since 2016. This hellish title is the fourth entry of the Souls series, and it has become constantly praised by players and critics alike, becoming the fastest selling game of Bandai Namco with over 3 million copies sold worldwide within just 2 months after its release. An action role-playing game characterized by a comprehensive combat system and surprising thematic depth, NIER Automata is the sequel to the 2010 Drakengard series spin-off title named simply NIER. It's set amidst a proxy war between machines created by ethereal invaders and the remnants of humanity, the gameplay combining role-playing elements with action-based combat. Definitely one of the most praised and most played titles of the franchise, Fallout 4 is set within an open-world post-apocalyptic environment where people are struggling to survive in the desolate and depleted Boston region. The player freedom and the overall generous amount of gameplay content are two of the most prominent aspects of this ultra-praised game, and that's why Fallout 4 is a true hit. Created by indie American developer Toby Fox, Undertale is a video game that draws inspiration from many other pop culture products, such as the Mother and the Mario and Luigi role-playing series, the bullet hell shooter series Touhou Project, and the British comedy show Mr. Bean. The player controls a child who fell into the underground and must fight various monsters to be able to climb back to the surface, the choices made during the gameplay affecting the outcome of the entire game. This dungeon crawler is part of one of the most famous and appreciated gaming franchises in the world, the Diablo series being one of the best role-playing titles on the gaming market. Diablo 3 was such a big hit that it set a new record for the fastest selling PC game, shipping over 3.5 million copies in the first 24 hours after release. In Monster Hunter World, you get to create your own character and travel to the new world to hunt down and capture large monsters that roam outside on the vast lands that lay before you. This game received critical acclaim upon release, Capcom being especially praised for the way it managed to make it so accessible to Western markets. XENOBLADE Chronicles 2 is an action RPG that offers over 70 hours of intensive adventure, a mesmerizing storyline unfolding in the beautiful scenery of the game. The gameplay of XENOBLADE is equally impressive, featuring a series of intricate mechanics and having the potential of becoming an addictive activity thanks to its impressive variety. Dragon Age Inquisition was viewed as the redemption song of BioWare. Through the massive RPG title, they established a new name for themselves and even managed to amass about 150 awards and nominations for Best Role-Playing Game of the Year. Its epic storyline and action-filled gameplay turned Dragon Age Inquisition into a really good role-playing title. A spiritual successor to the Baldur's Gate and Icewind Dale series, Pillars of Eternity won various awards including Best Role-Playing Game of 2015. Being especially praised for its artwork and graphics, the gaming title features a deep and engaging combat system, as well as a great immersive storyline that's just full of life. Darkest Dungeon has you manage a collection of heroes that have to explore the dungeons below a gothic manor that you've inherited from your wealthy family. Of course, the gameplay is sprinkled with challenging moments where monsters and other vicious foes will jump right at your pack of heroes, prompting you to fend them off with your mix of real-time movement and turn-based combat. A part of the Elder Scrolls series and its first online outing, The Elder Scrolls Online is set in the continent of Tamriel, and it features a plotline indirectly connected to the other games in the series. The re-release rebranding as Elder Scrolls Online Tamriel Unlimited brought this title a myriad of praises both from new players as well as the die-hard fans of the franchise. A sequel to The Stick of Truth, South Park The Fractured But Space W Hole follows the story of the new kid who has recently moved to South Park and who becomes involved in the epic role-playing that includes but is not limited to conspiracies, crimes, supervillains, genetically engineered monsters, and mafia kingpins. The Fractured But Whole is a tongue-in-cheek RPG title that perfectly emulates the original South Park animation style. Horizon Zero Dawn is a video game that looks outstandingly good. Its immense plains and vividly designed creatures making the entire gameplay a soulful experience that will definitely be remembered a long time after finishing the game. But the best part of this title is that it comes with RPG features that allow the player to grow the main character in meaningful and surprising ways. The Final Fantasy franchise is most definitely one of the best in the world of video gaming, and the 15th main installment in this series is no different, being a charming role-playing game with an extensive open world and an intriguing action-based combat system. Final Fantasy 15 is truly a golden title, and it became the favorite of many gamers. Deus Ex: Mankind Divided is an action role-playing stealth video game that is set in the cyberpunk-themed dystopian world of 2029. An overall praised title, the 6th installment of this series has received multiple positive reviews for its art direction, environmental design, and decision-making system that made the entire gameplay feel way more authentic. A charming fantasy tactical role-playing game that takes place in a fictional world inspired by Norse mythology, the Banner Saga tells the story of a caravan that must find a place to settle and employ inventive means of keeping away their enemies, the Dredge. With hand-drawn animation and a beautiful written storyline, the Banner Saga is a game you simply cannot forget. Neo, or Benevolent King in Japanese, is an action role-playing game that takes place in the early 1600s during a fictionalized version of the Sengoku period. The player's goal is to navigate around levels and defeat the monsters that have infested various areas, all kinds of combat tactics and methods being employed to finish a mission. Divinity Original Sin 2 is a fantasy role-playing video game that has received quite a lot of praise upon its release, mainly for its ability to modernize the RPG genre and bring something new to the gaming scene. The novelty comes from the fact that the game comes with the editor that the developers used to create it, allowing players to construct their own single-player and multiplayer adventures and publish them online. A role-playing game where the player dives into the character of a high school student in modern Tokyo, Persona 5 is controlled by a day-night cycle and weather systems that influence the general behavior similar to a social simulation game, making the entire gameplay feel highly realistic and immersive. And these are some aspects that present the game in a very particular way. Shadow of War is based on the universally beloved Lord of the Rings universe, and its entire gameplay is infused with the greatness of this saga of epic proportions. This second installment of the Middle-earth series is even more full of action than its precursor, Shadow of Mordor, players being encouraged even more to go head-to-head with even more rabid orcs. Torment Tides of Numenera is the spiritual successor to 1999's Planescape Torment, and it is a role-playing video game that was successfully crowdfunded through Kickstarter in the first 6 hours after the project's launch. It features a story-driven gameplay, a great deal of emphasis being placed on the interactions with the world and the characters that populate the entire universe of the game. Featuring some really intricate and unforgiving gameplay mechanics, Kingdom Come Deliverance will definitely challenge your combat skills in some of the most intense and inventive of ways. Backed up by a solid storyline and an in-depth character creation and upgrade system, the game is one of the best recent RPG titles that we got to play. The fact that Link is such a customizable character that you can make him a sly Shika, a heavily armored knight, or someone who runs around in their underwear throwing chickens at moblins is one of the best things about The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. The rest of the gameplay is equally epic, and we must admit that we're really impressed by this gaming title. And that was our list showcasing 25 of the best RPGs in this generation. Make sure to hit those like and subscribe buttons down below because it does help us immensely, and why not leave a comment while you're at it. You can also check out GameBite.com for even more from the world of gaming, but until next time, thank you so much for watching and have a great day.